Greetings, viewers. I want to welcome you to another YouTube class. And in today's class, we are going to be talking about the group of parasites known as tapeworm. We have discussed platyhelminthes, and I talked about the different classes that are found in the group of organisms or the group of helminths known as platyhelminthes. I thought about the tuberlaria, the temnocephalida, the monogynoidea, then also thought about the trematoda and the cystoda. We have talked about the parasites under trematoda. I know we have discussed the life cycle of schistosoma and the life cycle of fasciola. Even though we have other groups of Trematoda, we have not discussed their life cycle, but just limited the class to just two parasites under Trematoda, which are Fasciola and Schistosoma. Of course, we'll have other examples, the Opistochis sinensis, the Heterophis Gastrodiscordis hominis, and the rest of them. You already know them because I've listed them in one of the classes and also talked about the diseases they cause. Now, tapeworms are groups of organisms that are found under the class Cystoda. Under the class Cystoda. 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 Characteristics of this parasite. Now, one major characteristic of this parasite is that they are ribbon-like and they have a number of segments that is called the proglottids. They are ribbon-like, just like a ribbon. You know, I thought about uh, the tapeworms as being like a tape. You know, the normal tape used in measurement, they are ventrally flattened. Now, when we talk about that characteristics of platyhelminthes, which means that which is being ventrally flattened, the actual group of platyhelminthes that has these characteristics are the tapeworms. Now, apart from these characteristics, now it is also important that you note that this group of parasites lack mouth and the alimentary canal, or you can say that they lack the mouth and the digestive system. The reason for this is because they are found within the intestine of the host where there is a prey digested nutrients and they don't have any need to digest their food. So what they do is to conserve the energy and channel it into one major area, which is their reproduction. So because of being found in the part of the body or the part of the host where there is a pre-digested material, nutrient, there is no need for them to have both mouth and the digestive system. It is also important that you know that another characteristic of this parasite is the fact that they are hermaphrodites. Yes, the cystodes or a hermaphrodite, you're gonna find the male and the female sexual organs in one single segment. Of course, like I said, they have the numerous segments that are called the proglottids. Then they also have what they call hooklets. You know, in the stage of the development, they have what is called the hexacant larva. They have a kind of larva called the hexacant larva, hexacant larva, hexacant larva, or oncosphere, or oncosphere. They have hexacant larva or oncosphere. So this is one of the this is the larva, and this larva, of course, means that they have six different hooklets. This is usually found in Taenia solum and Taenia saginata. This is another important characteristics of this parasite. Then, of course, some of the parasites can make use of can propagate their life cycle in a terrestrial environment, while some, I will still mention them, can only propagate their life cycle within the aquatic environment. or let me say their life cycle can be propagated within the aquatic environment or within the terrestrial environment, depending on the category of parasite. So these are the few characteristics of tapeworm. We are going to go into the next subtopic, which is types of tapeworm. Other types of tapeworm, we have different categories of tapeworms. We have the one we call the dwarf tapeworm, the dwarf tapeworm, Hymenolepis nana, Hymeno, Hymenolepis nana is called the tapeworm, dwarf tapeworm. Then of course we have the one we call the fish tapeworm, the fish tapeworm. The fish tapeworm is Diphyllobothrum latum. This is known as the fish tapeworm, Diphyllobothrum latum. Then of course we have another one we call the Spirometra sp. The Spirometra sp is called the Sparganum tapeworm. The Sparganum tapeworm. Then of course we have another one we call the Tinea cilium. Okay, let me write it here. The Tinea cilium. This is called the pig tapeworm. Then of course the Tinea saginata. This is called the cow tapeworm. Then the last but not the least is the one they call the Echinococcus granulosus. Echinococcus granulosus. This one is called the dog tapeworm. It mainly affects dog. As a matter of fact, dogs are the primary host of this parasite. Now, having thought about the different types of tapeworm, as you can see it, these are the different types of tapeworm. We'll have others which I may not mention now. We'll have others like the one they call, if I can still remember, Hymenolepis diminutum. That one is called a rat tapeworm. So, but I may not cover all of them. So these are the most common ones. Let's now talk about the two important orders we have in tapeworms. We have two important orders in tapeworms. Orders. When I talk about orders, in terms of classification, from the kingdom down to phylum, we now have the order, class, then order. Then there are two different important orders that you can see in tapeworms. The first one is called the Cyclophilidia. Then we have the one they call the Pseudophilidia. So these are the two important orders. When you talk about tapeworm, you cannot talk about tapeworms without mentioning these two important orders, the Cyclophilidia and the Pseudophilidia. For Cyclophilidia, one of the differences between the Cyclophilidia and the Pseudophilidia, number one, is that these members of this group have a globular head. They have globular head, or what they call a spherical head. They have a head that looks like this. Something of this nature. Then of course we have the segments following it. So this is a globular head. But members of the other group have what they call the elongated head with two oral slit-like grooves called botria. Okay, let me come back again. Members of this group have globular head, and they are equipped with four different suckers. Globular head with four suckers. These four suckers are located within, of course, they use the sucker to clench the wall of the intestine of the host. Then members of pseudophilidia, they have what we call oral slit-like grooves, called botria. They have oral slit-like grooves called a botria. So why these ones have four, these ones have two, and it is positioned at each side of the uh, the head of the parasite. I'm still going to talk about examples of these parasites. Then another important characteristic is the fact that the eggs of these ones are non-opaculated. Opaculated. The eggs are non-opaculated. So they don't have opaculated head. When we talk about opaculated egg, we mean an egg that has a kind of a lid or covering at one end. So if you have this egg, this is a lid, a kind of covering, a kind of covering at one end of the egg. That is what we call operculum. So this operculum is not found in members of Cyclophilidia, but is found in the eggs of members of Pseudophilidia. Then another important characteristic is the fact that these ones have genital pore that is laterally located, is located on the lateral side of each of the proglottis or segment. But these ones have genital pore that is located within the midline, of the segment. That's another difference. Then another difference is the fact that there is no uterine pore, there is absence of uterine pore in members of this group, whereas there's uterine pore in members of pseudophilidia. Now, the uterine pore helps in the release of the egg. Now, the reason there is no uterine pore when it comes to members of Cyclophilidia is because the eggs are not released until they get into the environment through the feces. So the eggs are usually located within the gravis segment, and once it gets into the environment, that is when the segments breaks and the eggs are now released. This is how the the eggs are released for the perpetuation of the life cycle. But in the case of pseudophilidia, the eggs are released through the uterus into the aquatic environment, where of course they hatch into what we now call the coracidium. And I think that is another. Let me dwell on that a little. So I was talking about the uterine pore. So in the case of pseudophilidia, the essence of the presence of the uterine pore is for the eggs to be released into the aquatic environment. And once the eggs are released into the aquatic environment, then of course it's non-hatch or hatches into what we call the coracidium. And this will now lead us to another difference between members of Psychophilidia and members of Pseudophilidia. And that is the fact that members of this group have one intermediate host. mm, They usually have one intermediate host. Like if you talk about the Taenia solium, Taenia saginata, the cow, the pig, just one intermediate host. Echinococcus glandullosus and the rest of them, they have one intermediate host. But in this case, they have two intermediate hosts. Yes, two intermediate hosts. One is usually the crustacean or the copod, the copod, the copod, the copod, which uh, takes up the coracidium, which is a larva, and of course, they also have the fish as the second intermediate host. That is for members of this group. So they have three categories of larva. Three categories of larva. The copod is the first one. Then we have the next one they call the prosarcoid, prosarcoid, and this one are called the prerosarcoid, prerosarcoid. These are the different categories larvae that are found in members of the pseudophilidia. Then for Psychophilidia, the kind of larva they have is usually the cysticercoid. They usually have the kind of larva called the cysticercoid. The cysticercoid, that is the solid larva for Hymenalepis nana, is called the cysticercoid. Then, of course, they usually have another larva that is called the cysticercus. The cysticercus. This is a, a fluid-filled bladder that serves as the infective stage of members of Taenia pseudium and Taenia saginata. Then, of course, they also have what they call the hydatid cyst. Hydatid cyst. This hydatid cyst is a solid larva form of members of Echinococcus granulosus. Echinococcus granulosus. So these are some of the differences between these two orders. Called the Cyclophilidia and the Pseudophilidia. So what I will now do is to mention some of the examples of the parasites. Let me differentiate them, even though I've been talking about them, but let me write it down. Parasites that are found under Cyclophilidia, I'll just mention them. The first one is Taenia pseudium. They'll have Taenia saginata, Taenia saginata. Then we have the next one, which is called Hymenalepis nana. Then of course we also have Echinococcus granulosus. Then for members of this group, they just have few parasites under them. Diphyllobothrum latum, and Spirometra sp. This one causes teniasis or cysticercosis or celium. Then Hymenalepis nana causes hematolepisis. This causes echinococcosis. This causes diphyllobothriasis, and this causes spirometriasis, or what they call spaganosis. They call it normally. You can call it spaganosis. Okay, I think that is where I will stop for this class. I just came to do a kind of introduction of tapeworm. In my next class, we'll now look at the life cycle of Taenia pseudium and Taenia saginata. Thank you for listening.